So the first Lord of the Rings movie was an experience for me. I have now watched the second, and I can safely say, also an experience. Hi, I'm the bearer of the second true ring to rule them all, but you can call me Indigo. Let me share my findings. I don't think I've ever seen another sequel that simultaneously has so much more and so much less going on. Like, the first hour of the movie is an awful lot of nothing. Too much nothing for there to be so much shit happening. This movie has like 12 subplots, but half of them might as well be footnotes. Let me briefly recount a story the same way I did in the previous video. I visited England a few years ago, visited the portion of Western England where my grandparents live, and I'm not gonna get more specific than Western England for privacy reasons, but it's not super far from where Tolkien grew up. And while I was there, I did a lot of exploring. I got my grandpa to drive me to different towns and things so that I could just wander around and encounter things and make some bad decisions. And on one of these drives, my very British grandpa was telling me, my non-LOTR fan self, how Tolkien would explore rural England up and down as a kid, which was a big inspiration for his writing. He points to a clock tower on the horizon and speculates that it may have inspired Mordor and so on. And indeed, when I looked at a map of Western England, in addition to such incredible place names as Hopton Wafers, Little Budworth, Hope Bagot, and Stone, you have the standout location of Bagginswood. But the real reason I'm telling this story is that England is just really universally baffling. Like, I went to a McDonald's in England and they had a burger called the Big Tasty. Look at this British Rice Krispies box. Look at it. That's the thing. When you're in England, you see recognizable chains like McDonald's and HMV, but then next to HMV, there's a place called Smiggle. And that's a great transition back to LOTR, because Smiggle is the real name of Gollum, and his CGI is just so ugly, just piss ugly. The second movie opens with a Dragon Ball Z recap, which is followed by possibly the dumbest sequence of film I have ever seen. The theme of the first movie was me not being able to tell anybody apart. The theme of the second movie is me not being able to hear anything. Gollum makes a lot of noises, but I'm not hearing any phonemes. Even more than the first movie, there were 1,000 times that I just genuinely expected Frodo and Sam to, like, kiss. In the last video, I said I didn't think they were meant to be read as a couple, but this movie is seriously making me question that. Anyway, Frodo's double vision friends walk into the forest and out of the movie. It becomes quickly evident that this movie is an extended morality play on deforestation. I'm not gonna explain that, just trust me. Jump to Team Oilyman, and they're tracking the orcs, who are taking the hobbits to, somewhere? You know, I don't really remember where they're taking the hobbits. Gandalf comes back after having been dead for like 20 minutes, and he does it in the literal funniest way possible. His friends are going through the woods expecting to encounter Saruman, and Gandalf decides to jump out at them with a blinding spotlight obscuring his face and start shouting menacingly. Drama queen, I love it. Gotta say though, the straightened hair is not doing it for him. Legolas and Gremlin share a horse, and wow, they're really just married. I said before that I'm not really into shipping things, and that's still true, but see, if I identify a relationship in something, I'm just correct. Then we have this icky little kingdom where the king is sick, but like magic sick, so he looks like he's growing mold, and he's being controlled by his corrupt advisor, but like, this man could not be more suspicious. He has no eyebrows, his name is Grimy Wormhole, and the king literally never speaks without Grimy's teleprompter. Team Frogurt comes up to the like enormous gate of Mordor where there's a massive army going in, and they try to sneak in, but they get stopped by Gollum because there's absolutely no way you can just sneak in there, you idiot. Frogo, you dumbass idiot. You don't simply walk into... CGI Gollum strokes Frogo's shoulder in the nastiest way. It harkens back to Obi-Wan's CGI diner fry cook friend's hands squelching over his back. Sam Undertale is so mean to Gollum, like he just has depression. And Frodo is literally like, I can fix him. About Gollum. Fucking Gollum. The two hobbits, I think their names are Pippi and Longstocking, they meet a big talking tree who goes like, I haven't seen any tree ladies in ages. Hey, do you know any busty single trees in your area? I liked it when the wizard did an exorcism on the king. The king proceeds to be the most aggravating character in this movie. Oilyman stops the king from killing Grimy, and you know, I appreciate heroes who are not fond of wanton execution, but also Grimelord is a known ally of Saruman, who is now just gonna scamper off and report all the intel he just got. And later we see Saruman brooding his boudoir and Grimy just walks in. Like, are you telling me there wasn't a single locked door in the way? I realize that I might sound eerily similar to the worst YouTube channel of them all. I swear I'm not saying all of these things as actual criticisms of the movie. I'm saying them as an illustration of the kind of mindset it put me in and the attitude I brought to it. Anyway, there's this long funeral scene for like the dead prince or whatever. This movie is really banking on me caring about people I have no reason to care about. There's more crying, that's always welcome. There's a visual representation of Gollum's social anxiety that makes me feel like I'm reading an indie comic. This movie goes to pains to get everyone from the first movie an acting credit. First, Oilyman has a dream/vision of elf girl boss wearing like a shower curtain. Then midway through the movie, Cate Blanchett swings in for a voiceover. Cate Blanchett is miscast, by the way. This role should have been Tilda Swinton. It should have been Tilda. Legolas and Gremlin continue to be sidelined. These two, especially Legolas, were everywhere in the advertising. I would remind you that that jigsaw puzzle had 2 of each. It's wild that Legolas would be marketed so heavily only to get like 10 minutes of screen time each movie, and then spend all that screen time being quirky and goofy. Remember how I predicted that a new person would join the team? I was right, and it's a cat girl. She's the niece of the king, and her entire thing is that she wants to be like epic and cool and a girl boss on the battlefield, but the king won't let her because he doesn't respect women, and that's her personal conflict. And the movie's way of addressing this is to just have her obey her uncle and not do anything. Great. I'm sure it's setting up something for the 3rd movie, but god. She also gets all moody broody over Oilyman within like half an hour of meeting him. And these two are living in a horse girl movie for some reason. Like, Oilyman sees a horse that's like thrashing and screaming and cursing and conspiring, and he's all like, hey man, don't worry about it. And the horse calms down, and Catgirl is like, oh my god, he's the first person ever to tame old Kicker. And that's how she realizes that Oilyman is not like most guys. The horse's name is like Prego, by the way. And later on, when it looks like Oilyman is gonna be a Kingdom Hearts intro for the rest of his life, Prego saves him, another horse girl beat, and proceeds to graphically make out with him with tongue. I take it back. These movies are not sexless. Speaking of horses, Gandalf has a horse too, and it's called Printerfax, and it has these horrible bangs for some reason, like this self-righteous middle school rich kid bully haircut. Like, this horse is gonna walk up to you in the locker room and call you a slur. Every day this horse has a different flavor of mineral water to drink with its lunch of green grapes and soda crackers. This horse tries to brag that it has an iPod Nano, and when you say you have one too, it goes, yeah, whatever. I hate this so much. Like, Gandalf really came back from the salon with this shitty perm, and he thought he looked so good. He takes one look at his horse and goes, oh my god, we could be matching. Saruman is making his evil villain bad guy plans, and Grimy is like, to do all that shit, we would need an army of thousands. And Saruman is like, tens of thousands. And he dramatically walks over to the balcony, and there's a massive army, and Grimy is like, whoa, how did he get in? How did he get in and miss the army outside? Remember the Matrix guy? I genuinely thought that he was Thranduil. Like, I thought that that made the most sense. Apparently not. His name is actually Elrond, and that holds up because he sure does seem to be running a cult. Like, Elf Girl Boss, who has no personality or motivation outside of Oilyman, is like, I want to romance and kiss that greasy, unwashed fellow. And the Matrix guy is like, no, don't do that. Don't you love me too? If you love me, you should go Roblox with all the other elves. And she's like, okay. Team Frodo gets abducted, and suddenly there's an Oilyman number 3. And while he's interrogating Frodo and Sam, there's another of him behind them. That's actually kinda avant-garde. So it gets revealed that Oilyman number 3 is actually the brother of Oilyman number 2, which I guess makes him like Oilyman 2.5 or something. And then Oilyman number 2 gets a whole flashback because of course he does. Do you think the Veil of Death is gonna stop them from bringing a character back? Oilyman number 2 Senior looks like if Vlad the Impaler was one of the founding fathers. Frobo treats Gollum like a literal dog. He's like, let's go, come on Gollum, you want a treat? We're going to the park, Gollum. And then he takes him to the vet. Oily Man reunites with his team, and Catgirl sees him talking to Legolas, and she thinks they're gay, and she gets jealous. The king is an idiot, so he's gathered the whole kingdom in a big cauldron, and you better believe the orcs are chopping carrots. The elf hive mind shows up, and it's horrifying. The siege scene that follows is so long. Legolas really does surf on a fucking shield, whatever. The siege includes the heart-wrenching death of whoever this guy is. I don't know who that is or why I should care. The good guys win thanks to their reinforcements, and the collaboration element is kind of nice. The first movie showed a world where everyone was separated, living in their isolated little bubbles. In the second movie, we see more of the same initially. We see people being distrustful of outsiders, but their preconceptions are also repeatedly challenged in different ways. Accepting support is necessary. The coalition of many people from many places, this kingdom's people and the elves and the trees and the heroes, is necessary to win this war. And the heroes themselves, this coalition of people from different places and different cultures, they're kind of a microcosm of that unity. There is, of course, another side to that coin, and we'll come back to that in a minute. When the fight is over, Legolas and Gremlin argue about which one of them killed a specific orc, and Legolas is like, he was twitching, and Gremlin goes, he's twitching because my axe is buried in his nervous system. And you know, that tells us something about the state of anatomical education in Middle-earth. The trees invade Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry and get a little Diluvian. The hobbits find Saruman's fucking secret snack room and his secret stash. Frodo starts getting corrupted and turns edgy. I expected many things in this movie, but I somehow didn't expect grimdark Frodo, goth Frodo, Underfell Frodo. Sam cures him with true love, and then they scurry down a tunnel with swimming pool lighting for some reason, and then they literally flirt with each other. They hit on each other back and forth, and they both make that goofy little smile you get when your crush says something nice. Like, okay, I think it's easy to get a little trigger happy with wanton accusations of gay bait. I think a lot of it is like a little spurious. But if these two do not kiss in the third movie, that's gay bait. So final thoughts. A minute ago, I brought up the notion of unity, unification. I like it, but it's not really extended to everyone. The humans and the elves and the dwarves and the hobbits can be unified to do good, while the orcs and the other orcs are unified in their villainy. I'm gonna try to keep this take brief because I really doubt I'm the first one to think any of this, but I still want to earnestly illustrate the things that I feel about this movie. There is no pretense of the human-like races being universally good people. Like, individual humans make bad decisions, but that's exactly it. They are afforded individuality where the evil races are not. LOTR is very much not caught up in the individual. It focuses on a handful of great men, while civilians and populations are nameless bystanders, with maybe one or two people singled out to tug some heartstrings. But those instances where there are individuals with opinions, experiences, personalities, only the humans get that. And for the record, I'm switching to humans to mean human-like races just because it's quicker. And the only times that humans are shown as like a faceless cluster of villains are this uncivilized barbarian horde serving Saruman and this other group briefly seen that appears to be based on the medieval Middle East. They have elephants, but even those groups are afforded just a little bit more. When Frodo first gets abducted, it's after a battle between Oily Man 3's squad and the guys with the elephants. I don't know what their names are. I don't know what anything is. I'm sorry. And their captor looks at one of the fallen enemies and goes, huh, you really wonder what his name was, you know? You wonder if he had a family. And nobody ever wonders that about, like, a goblin or an orc. Oily Man convinces the king to show mercy to Grimy Wormy, but none of the heroes consider showing mercy to any orc they come across. In fact, they make a game of counting their kills, they joke about it, they relish in cutting them down, because the moral failings of humans relate to weakness of character, temptation, external influence, and people who give in to that are capable of redemption. The moral failings of orcs are because that's just what they are. An orc can't be redeemed. He has no personality beyond being an orc and doing doing what an orc is supposed to do. The way the setting is written makes it correct for characters to lack sympathy for orcs. And there's a lot of factors that I think relate to that. I've spoken before about the correlation of good and beauty, evil and ugliness. That's all over this series. On the individual level, compare the framing of Frodo, Legolas, and Cate Blanchett to that of Saruman or Gollum or Grimy. Even within the heroes, see how Gremlin is the one that's supposed to be bumbling comic relief. And on the broader level, compare the framing of the humans, elves, and hobbits to the orcs, goblins, and trolls. Those who are not beautiful are consistently afforded less sympathy. Another factor, the orcs are physically strong, bloodthirsty, and a little dumb. LOTR conceives of race as something very real, something that imparts tangible, objective qualities on a universal basis. And the orcs are imposing. I get the sense of a fear of foreigners, big, strong, scary foreigners who are pushing into our territory with no desire but to slaughter literally everyone. So the only thing we can do is massacre them first. Then there's the cardinal angle. The good guys all live in the west and the bad guys in the east. Before some smartass hops into the comments, do not mistake me for accusing this movie of actively using the orcs as a one-to-one metaphor for like Asia or whatever. I just think it's possible that an underlying bias regarding the moral caliber of people and cultures in certain relative locations and or fears of invasion from certain locations may have had a part in that, and I think that may be worth unpacking. What I'm really saying here is, like, I understand, like, the concept of villains that are, like, a mindless, faceless evil, but I also just get a little weary of it, you know? Anyway, the second movie was all in all better than the first in most ways. I had fun with it, but it failed to really grab me. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. You can check out my Twitter at Indigo's Findings. Thank you for watching. See ya! So, it's 5 a.m. and I'm out on this nature trail. It's this very muddy footpath that's on an elevated hill above a river. Calling this a trail might have been a little generous. Made it up, didn't die. I swear there's like a great view here, you just can't see it. So I was able to kind of gather my bearings and like, I think I found my way onto some kind of actual path. There's like tire tracks and shit. But now I have a problem because we got two directions here. One of them has a sign saying private, no public access. And the other one is a bridge. But there's a sign saying that it's closed because of recent flooding, I guess. So now, I'm at a loss for what to do, because backtracking is boring. So, I hop the fence and cross the bridge. This is really great quality video right here. There's the moon. Now, there is a log blocking this this little stretch of walkway. I think this is the part where I like get gored by a bull or something. I have found my way back to the road, which means I don't need to worry about, you know, the Blair Witch or the Slender Man or anything. I just have to worry about English drivers, which are far more dangerous. It's getting brighter. Also, I don't know if you can tell, but I think there's some kind of tower or something. There's a horse here. It came over to investigate me. I made my way east to some flatter land, obviously. Oh, a bird. And I actually saw that wind turbine off in the distance from my grandparents' backyard, which is somewhere over that way. And I thought to myself, wow, I really want to find that turbine. But then I couldn't see it from anywhere else. But now I'm here, and I found it.
I'm cutting through this field because I think it's more efficient, but I'm trying really hard not to trample this, like, I don't know, wheat or whatever it is. I really hope I'm allowed to be here. Beautiful. There's just like a whole car here.